Hello, everyone, and welcome to Insport, the first year in 2001, and we are looking at having a lot of fun. Kevin, Katie, happy to be with you, and joining me, William Davis. We're the two primary hosts that you'll be seeing every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Just a reminder, we've got an hour now, so you know what that means. A big segment of open phones for you, and we got some great plans for the new year and some plans for you to have your input in the show and maybe talk to some of the players. It's going to be an exciting year, eh, William?
Absolutely. It's looking like there's going to be a lot to talk about, too, especially here in Vancouver with a couple of teams. Well, I should say a couple of teams. One team heading to the playoffs in the Canucks. And, all this great stuff going on with the Grizz, the ongoing soap opera that is the Grizzlies. And, this is a great little plan we have going here. We'll have you guys give us questions to ask the folks down at the games, and we'll get into that later on in the show.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to open phones, how you can have your input in the show. Also, when we get to open phones, we'll be willing to talk about a large variety of things going on. You got to love the NFL football that's being played over the weekend. I think that game today between the Ravens and the Titans was one of the most physically violent games that I have seen in the NFL in a long time.
Player of the Year, Ray Lewis. Defensive Player of the Year, Ray Lewis. Out there, and he scores his first touchdown of his career, of course, to be the capper. That was the kicker. That was the game there when he scored that touchdown. Number 1 and 2 defenses in the league this year, but playing this afternoon. And the first time ever in the NFL that's happened. 1 and 2 teams defensively show up for a playoff game. And, wow. Who'd have thought that the Browns would have beat the Oilers, right?
Well, of course, that's not how they're calling it these days. But I think a lot of the people picked the Ravens to come away with that game. They seem to be a little bit more aggressive in their defensive approach, and that's what paid off tonight. You know, we covered a lot of high school football this past year. One of the things we used to always talk about was, these kids got to get the kicking game in order because, they play great offense, great defense, but the kicking game doesn't work. But obviously the pros can have the same problem as we saw today.
Oh, yeah, and that was a story that was an ongoing story for the Titans this year. And coach had to come up and say, look, we've been behind this guy all the way, and that's the way it goes. But that happened a couple of times, and the couple of losses they had this year were due to Del Greco's foot. And so they lived and died by this guy's foot, and today they died.
Sticking with football, what do you think about the BC Lions and their plan to get people to fill up the lower bowl down at BC Place Stadium? 20,000 tickets for $20 or less. Now, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me, and it sounds like something that we'll definitely have to look into as the season gets a little bit closer, bring some of the people down. Maybe get Rob Malik to come down and talk to us a little bit about that, or Adam Rita, because I think that's a great idea. The place when it's empty does you no good. Get somebody in that seat, get them cheering for the team, create the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, this is a good plan. This is a great plan, and they're doing the right thing. They have no choice to go after this the population here in Vancouver right after the Grey Cup win. If all things are great, you're a great team all year, not struggling with all the internal problems and coaches taken off to the XFL. And all this kind of stuff. But that's not what happened. So it's the post-Grey Cup campaign to get folks out. And $20 for a ticket and less, within a great seat, that's a great plan. And they got no choice in that cavernous place anyway.
The 20-yard line is where you'll be able to pick up those bargains. 20-yard line around to the other 20-yard line. So a good deal. And actually, I've sat in that area before. Pretty good view as well, and some great activity going on. You get a lot of crazy cats down there. Some of the most colorful characters down at BC Place Stadium are hanging out in those areas just by the end zone. So something that we'll talk about later on the show. I got to tell you, though, my focus, I'm a big football fan. You all know that watch the network a lot. I'm into the NFL football, but I'm telling you, the March Madness is starting to get my temperature to rise. Here on the network, we've been covering a lot of basketball. You talk about the Grizzlies. We'll talk a little bit about them in open phones. We're going to be covering university athletics extensively from now right up until March when the CIAU has its playoffs. We always cover the girls' AAA championships, and this year it looks as though we're going to cover the boys' AAA championships as well. So a big coup for the network, and good work by some of the people up in the tower that you never see to pull that one off for us. So today's show is the first one as we take a look at some of the university basketball teams in the province. We're going to focus on SFU today. William Davis is going to talk to the assistant coach up at Burnaby Mountain, Steve Dinney, and I'll have one of their players, a great young talent. You'll all be familiar with him, and we'll talk to him as well. Right now, let's check in with what's been going on around this crazy town, and Karina Robertson is just the person to do the job.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Karina Robertson. Welcome to Around Town Sports, where 2001 is bringing lots of action, so let's not waste any time. Here we go. Taking it to the courts on Burnaby Mountain, the Clan women did what they needed to do to beat the Before the Break Blues, defeating the University of Lethbridge 98-35 on Friday and repeating the feat Saturday, winning 76-41. Sweeping the series and snapping their 4-game losing streak, their record now 8-4. Needing to string a few victories together, the SFU men were unable to capitalize on Friday night, falling short by 3 to the University of Manitoba. Final score 64-61. The two teams squared off Saturday night to find out the results. Stay tuned after Insport. Turning our attention to Trinity Western, the women's basketball team were in Saskatchewan, taking on the Huskies. Friday night's result, 75-80 in favor of the Huskies. Unable to change the previous night's fortune, the Spartans were dogged out again, losing to Saskatchewan 65-74. In Saskatchewan as well, the men met with the Huskies and won 80-77. Still on the court, Trinity Western's women's volleyball team hosted the University of Calgary. Friday night they lost in straight sets, and on Saturday were defeated by the Dinos in 4. Looking at the men, they squared off on Friday night and dropped a tight one, 3-2. Saturday night, it took the Dinos only 3 games to 2. Back to the courts we go, but this time onto the endowment lands. It's UBC women's basketball, and the Birds have something to squawk about. Friday night, they take the win 69-65 against the University of Alberta. Saturday night, yes, they do it again, this time in a tight one. UBC 59-50 and Alberta 58. The men also met with Alberta, but the results were very different. Friday night, UBC falls 63-77. Looking for redemption on Saturday, not going to happen. The Thunderbirds lose 77-95 against the Golden Bears. Staying at UBC, the women's volleyball team won 2 against the Pandas. The T-Birds didn't drop a set Friday or Saturday to come away with the 4 points. The men copied the women, sweeping their Friday night series 0-3. Saturday, unable to sweep but able to win, the Birds defeated the Huskies 3-2. From the cozy confines of the warm gymnasiums to the cold arenas, the UBC men's hockey team defeated the University of Brandon 7-3 on Saturday. The team hooked up again, Brandon taking the win against UBC 4-5. Staying on the ice, it's the BCHL. Friday night in Merritt, the Centennials maintained their hold on second place, defeating Quesnel 3-1. Powell River doubled Prince George 4-2. Cowichan Valley defeated Trail 6-4. The Clippers got by themselves 4-3. On Saturday night, the Bulldogs won their 4th in a row, destroying Prince George 9-4. The Panthers added to their league-leading record, defeating the Millionaires 4-2. The Chiefs embarrassed the Eagles 8-1. Merritt beat Vernon 5-2, and Victoria split their weekend action, getting a victory at home against Trail 5-1. Now you're up to date on what's happening around your town in sports. Let's join William Davis back in studio.
Thank you very much, Karina. That was great. That's Around Town Sports there. Steve, folks, I've got a great guest with us here. We just realized that we know some fellow basketball stars back in Ottawa. Steve Dinney, assistant coach with the Simon Fraser University Klansmen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
And welcome back to Vancouver.
Yes, it's
or
good to be
Burnaby,
back.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. You've left the Ottawa scene.
Yeah, I have. I was back there living there for about 3 months and decided that I belonged out here.
Right.
So made the move back.
Because you know, playing basketball on the Rideau Canal isn't that much fun.
No, it really isn't, especially not this time of year.
Is that the coldest place you've ever been, at Ottawa?
Ottawa? I'd have to say it is. I'd have to say it is, yeah.
This is a sports show. I should get away from the weather, right? But so welcome, and tell us a bit about what's going on up at SFU. Maybe fill us in a bit on this year being a year of transition.
Yeah,
Simon Fraser is back in the CIAU.
Well, we've
first
never
time?
actually been the
Right.
CIU. We were in the NAIA for the past, I guess, 30 years.
Yeah.
And so this is a big transition year for us, just like you said. Brand new schedule. You know, we're playing teams that we've never ever played before. So, and I think one of the biggest transitions for us has been the format of the league, how we're playing back-to-back games all the time. And I think that our record kind of reflects our difficulties in making that transition.
Yeah, that is definitely different, and that all has to do with travel and stuff, right, in the CIAU.
Yeah, absolutely.
Folks at home, just so I don't hog all the questions here, if indeed you have a question for Steve Dinny, please watch your screen. There'll be a magical number that will appear at the bottom, and give us a call. And if you have any questions about SFU and their chances this year of heading off, we're the Nationals in Halifax?
Halifax, that's correct.
Yeah, if there's any chances. So what are you guys? You're 5-7
Yep.
conference. That's Canada West.
Correct, yeah.
And how does it look? How do you guys feel?
Well, we haven't been healthy all year. We haven't had everybody together on the same page at all. I mean, guys have been sick. A lot of guys have been hurt all year. So until we get everyone together, we're really not going to realize our potential. I think guys' injuries are starting to come around right now. And once we get everyone together, we're going to be able to peak, hopefully, over the next couple of weeks so we can get some wins.
This is a pretty quick transition for you, talking about transitions for the school and the team. But you're coming back from being, you were a player 2 years ago, I guess.
That's right, yeah.
Took a year off to coach in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're back and you're coaching with your former team. What's that like?
It definitely is a transition. I've just, over the past month, I've started to really become comfortable with what I'm doing. Just in dealing with guys, I've kind of learned what my job is. You know, it's to help them. Like when you're playing, it's I think it's more of a selfish thing. Not a completely selfish thing, but you're always looking after yourself. You know, how did I play tonight? How many points did I have? And now I'm just concerned about them, how they're doing. You know, how their headspace is, where they're at. You know, it's a much more selfless thing, and I'm really enjoying it.
But as a player, you're remembered as an intelligent player, a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're trying to instill in these young men?
I think so, yeah. I think as a player, I was, whenever I thought too much, I never played very well. And I think I'm the same way when I coach. I kind of go off instinct. I don't really think about what I'm going to say until it comes out. You know, that usually that's the right thing, but sometimes it's not. And I'm still trying to kind of find my niche in coaching to figure out my style, really.
Coach Clark's intense.
Yep.
Are you playing good cop, bad cop? Are you
Kinda.
friends? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have to do that. I mean, I played for Coach Clark, for 3 years, so I got a pretty good idea what he's like. You know, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of stuff over the years, but I know where his interests are. He's always looking out for you. But yeah, like you said, I think I am kind of the good cop to his bad cop sometimes.
Because, I mean, you go up to an SFU game, and he's part of the show.
Oh, I know
I
he
don't know
is.
if folks have been up there, but just watch the game,
Oh, yeah.
you find yourself.
People come to watch him for sure.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He's I mean, I don't want to compare him to Coach Knight in Indiana.
Yeah, but-
Because that guy has been proven to be extreme and
Yeah.
just archaic.
Yeah.
You know, this just doesn't work and cut it anymore. But the guy's intense. It's an Allison McNeil type stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you said, if you ever go watch a game, I mean, it doesn't take long to figure out how intense Scott is on the bench.
Right.
You know, in practice is even a couple notches higher.
Yes, I've been there for a
Yeah,
couple
you
of
have,
practices
eh?
to do some
Oh,
interviews.
they're crazy.
And that's great, right? That's
Yeah.
the way you want to be playing. So
Absolutely. I mean, we try to make practice more stressful than games. So when the games come around, guys can kind of relax and just play a little bit more.
right.
Yeah,
And you've got a younger team this year.
we do. And I think that might be a reason why we've had a few problems. I think we've had problems in closing out close games. For example, on Friday night, you know, it's we make errors that a young team would make. Just really small things that happen to cost us games. But in the same regard, even though we are young, I think that we have a lot of mature young guys. You know, our young guys have come along very quickly over the past couple months.
What would someone who wants to go up and catch a game find different from the game you guys were playing in the NAIA? with the Americans versus this Canadian style basketball?
I think the NAI was more athletic. Americans compete more. I think that's the biggest difference.
So we're even polite on the basketball court as Canadians? Is that
Right.
it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, a lot of the times, like when I played, I felt that we were always more skilled than all the other American teams. But they're just much more competitive. They really are.
There's also a lot more people, right? So that's definitely a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But can we go up and enjoy a great basketball game at the college level in Canada?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good hoops being played, for sure. Like at our level, at the university level, even at the college level, there's some good teams out there.
Do you guys hate Victoria already?
Kinda.
You sure?
We've lost to them 3 times this year.
Oh, well,
You know, so no, we're not very happy with them at all.
right?
But again, it's all about peaking at the right time. You know, we played them very early on in the year.
And so UBC is the natural arch rival, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they've always been. We've always played them in the, I guess it's called the Buchanan Cup. And so, yeah, that'll be an interesting game.
They're coming up
Yeah, in about a month.
in a month's
at home,
time,
at our gym.
right? Did you go there later on?
Nope, just the double home and home,
Right.
but they're up with us. Yeah, so
That'll be nice to.
yes, it will. It'll be good. Hopefully, get a good crowd out for that too.
Last year, I had the privilege of calling a game against Cal State Fullerton. Damon Allen's alma mater, he
Yep.
came up and he was gracious enough to talk to us at halftime. And he left the gym disappointed because
Because we won.
you guys won
That's
that
right.
game. What a game. We
It
had
was a
that
huge win.
live, we
Yeah.
didn't go live actually, but we had it on the network, and beautiful game.
Yeah, they're a Division I team from a good conference in California.
And they're
And
coming
that's
back
a-
for more.
That's a massive win.
And they're coming back this year, right?
Possibly next year, not this year.
Oh, okay.
We actually went down there early in November and played them.
How'd it go?
Not too good. No,
No.
a little bit of a different result than last year.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but this leads me to the next question I have, and that is that Simon Fraser has come to the CIAU, and in sort of unfortunate circumstances, so it seems. There's some changes in terms of the recruiting of players and the scholarships that aren't available anymore.
Yeah.
Speak to us a bit about that. That must have been quite
Yeah,
Quite a change.
that's a big thing. For example, when I played, I'm from Ontario. Most of the guys that I played with were from Ontario. You know, we'd have maybe 3 or 4 BC guys on the team, and everyone else was from the Toronto area or the Ottawa area, around there. There's just so many more bodies back there to choose from, and you know, that's where a lot of the best players are. But now that we can't give money, and I mean, we can give money, but not as much as we used to. And there's no lure of the American competition anymore. I don't think that we're seen as kind of a different, special type of basketball experience that we once were. And so now, like, we don't recruit very much from Ontario. We're basically just in BC. And I mean, there's still very good talent in BC, you know.
but it certainly changed the whole dynamic.
Absolutely. I mean, if I'm a kid from Ontario, what's the real draw? It used to be there, but I don't know if it's there anymore. We're very.
Have they been putting the boots to you guys? Has the CIU been? I mean, there's 5 of you would have come back for a 5th year.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of us that were thinking
Anderson,
about coming back.
yourself.
Yeah, we kind of toyed with the idea for a little while, and yeah, had meetings with Coach Clark, and he seemed pretty excited about it. But
They knew what would have happened.
I think so. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening now is that you guys have an exciting young team
Yes.
with a lot of BC talent, as you were saying, and so folks can head up to the Chancellor Gymnasium.
For sure. Yeah. Home and home. I think it's February 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, up at SFU.
That's right, and as Christina said on Around Town Sports, folks, stay tuned, because after Insport, we've got the Manitoba Simon Fraser's second game of that double bill that went on this weekend. So stay tuned to find out how this young Klansman team did. And Steve, on that, I will say thank you, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully we'll see you guys heading out to Halifax.
All right. I hope so
Maybe,
too.
you know, kick those Vikes down where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So thanks again for coming out, folks. We've got a special clip. We have decided to spend a couple of interviews this evening with some Klansmen, but we also had a camera go down to SFU and talk with Allison McNeil around how her team is doing and what we can look for with the Klansmen, or the, what would they be called?
The Clan, I
The
guess?
Clan. The Clan, folks. And thanks, Steve. Steve's my new sidekick here. Hey, you're good. So here's a piece with Allison McNeil telling us a bit about what we can expect from the SFU women.
Up the line, up the line! Let's see it! Whoa.
For the past decade, the Simon Fraser University women's basketball
Matched
program
up
has
as hard
been one
to
of the most
the basket.
dominant in female athletics. The person responsible for this decade of success is head coach Allison McNeil, and she has led with a style uniquely her own.
In fact, switch that. Switch that right now.
Well, I would say it's pretty intense. Generally speaking, I'm very demanding, intense kind of coach, but I'm also a coach who cares about the kids outside of basketball. So I would say I'm firm but caring. That's probably my coaching style. Philosophy, I think I want the kids to have fun. I want them to work hard, I want them to get an education, and I generally want them to be putting their best effort forward every time we go out on the floor and play.
Playing 4, you're 5, you're popping out on the stack. Okay, you're playing 2. Right, let's get some offense going. The ball's going. I tell you what, we're making soft cuts and they're denying hard, so we need a screen.
And we have to. I'd have to say that generally speaking, I've had good players, and if you can get good players, talented athletes as well as talented students and good people, then they'll train hard and they'll play. And I push them. I push them to be the best they can be. And but I generally think we've had good people, good players, good student athletes, and that's sort of why we've been successful and we work hard. I think this year it's been a really good, so far this year we've had a good mix of players stepping up at different times, and we've had to have because we've had so many injuries. But Teresa Klein-Nienst has kind of been our leader. She played on the Canadian Olympic team. She was the youngest member of that team. And though she didn't play much for them, she still gained a lot of experience from that, and I think she's kind of been our leader. Jen Van de Waal, who's in her 4th year for us here, a forward, has played very well. She's our leading scorer and leading rebounder thus far this season. Jessica Kazauka has been hurt for a month, but prior to that, she was playing very well for us, and we hope to have her back in a few weeks. So it's kind of been those 3, but at other times, other people, Carla Evans and Kirsten Wood. We've had Gabby Salazar step up, so it's kind of been a team effort. This is our first year joining the CIU, and so for about 35 years our school's been in the NAI, and both our basketball teams have gone CIU this year. And to start, things have been good. We've traveled to Toronto, we've been to Saskatchewan, and we've enjoyed the competition. A lot of new things for us though. The ball's different. We usually play a small ball, a women's size ball that's a men's size ball, a wide key. So there's been some rule changes, and just the style of play has, I think, been a little bit more physical. The refereeing's a bit different than we're used to because we've been playing in the American League. But there's been some good things. There's been some real heated rivalries, and I think those are really going to heat up with UVic and UBC now that we're in the same league. So we're excited to be here and ready to go.
Nice take, Devin. No ball, no ball. Sprint, sprint. Who's got the ball?
Nasi goreng, pad thai, tom yum goong. Are these the Leafs' latest picks? Join us to find out on Spicy Steve as we explore the tantalizing cuisines of Southeast Asia.
Hi, I'm Susan Wells, host of Dream Homes for Real People. If you've got more decorating ideas than money, time, or expertise, then I'm going to teach you interior design on a dime.
I know you can throw right at the dot. Right there. Use your head to stop the snowball. I don't know where you're aiming. Bullseye!
Digital picture and sound, another great feature of Shaw Digital Cable. More movies, more superstations, and more music for one low monthly price. Now purchase a Shaw Digital Cable terminal for only $199. Call today. This offer won't last.
Too bad we can't do for life what we do for television.
Shaw TV, exclusive local programming. And now you can purchase VHS copies of all your favorite programs. Just call 412-2777.
I don't think people are realizing that they're saying these things. They're just part of their everyday vocabulary.
Then some people would say that, hey, you black girl, you can't play with me.
Cross-cultural. Take an interest in your world.
Buddy! I need your help. Go back to the cabin and get Sarah. Tell her to call an ambulance. Good dog. Go to Sarah, boy.
Too bad we can't do for life what we do for television.
And welcome back. Insport continues, another in-studio interview. You heard from the assistant coach up at SFU, and they talked about being a young team that's getting better each and every week. Well, one of the reasons for that is the play of an outstanding freshman who joins me now, Brent Charlton. Brent, thanks for taking time out. I know you guys are busy up on the mountain with school and sports to come down and talk to everybody about life in the basketball fast lane. Oh yeah, okay. So we want to talk about a few things, and you know we do extensive coverage of high school sports. Hopefully this year we're going to get to do a lot more men's basketball, boys basketball. Mm-hmm. We are working on the AAA championships this year, which will be a great time down in the Aggregate Dome, as you know. You've played down in that tournament. So we want to talk with Brett about the transition from high school to university. So first of all, let's talk about the experience of playing ball here in BC and how it prepared you for CIAU level competition.
Oh, well, I feel that the level of high school basketball in BC is very high. And playing against that competition certainly helps you develop your skills that are necessary to succeed in university.
When you were with the Carson Graham Eagles over your career, you guys finished third a couple of times. Once when you were in grade 10, I believe, and then once in your final year in grade 12. That's got to get you ready for any level of competition, because that AAA tournament is real hot action here in BC. A lot of talented kids. So coming out of that, you were a pretty highly ranked player. Talk about the recruitment process that a lot of these kids can expect to go through in this year or even next year. When did it start for you?
Well, I actually signed up with a sort of a scouting service early on in about grade 10, and they sent out my stats and videos or whatever to certain colleges across North America, and I received like letters coming from those universities back. Most of it is just like a lot of hype, a lot of like just to keep you interested in their school kind of thing. I'd say that if they're actually really serious about you, then they'll actually make phone calls and visits, but I wouldn't expect too much from the letters.
Okay, so you get a lot of letters. Don't worry about it. It's just real spam through the mail.
Really it is. Yeah.
Okay, well, you saw the phone number on your screen, and if you're out there and you want to ask a specific question to Brett, feel free to give us a call at the number that was listed there, 588-0441. If you're outside of the local calling area, hey, give us a call, collect. We'll pick up the tab so you can have a chance to chat with Brett, who's shaking a little bit here, worrying about his buddies pulling a trick on him, but. You also mentioned something interesting when we were talking beforehand. Mm-hmm. SFU really kind of had an edge on the recruitment process with you, not just because you're a local kid, but you had a chance to work out with that team. Talk a little bit about that program.
Well, when you're still in high school and you get the chance to go up and practice and play against the university athletes, you get a feel for it, and you get to know the players, and you get to know the atmosphere. And up there, I thought that there was a really strong, positive atmosphere to go there. So that's what influenced my choice mainly, was to go to SFU because of that.
And is that a program that is initiated by the university? Like, will they send out invitations to high school teams to come up?
No, not really. It's mostly up to the coach inviting guys to come up and practice with the team.
Specific players.
Right, mainly the guys that he's recruiting. So that's basically what happens.
And SFU, of course, is one of the schools that could offer a scholarship deal to you?
Well, yeah. SFU was one of the only schools in Canada that could offer the full scholarship because they were still a part of the NAIA at that time.
Excellent. We got a caller. Somebody wants to ask you a question. Chris?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Insport. You got a question or a comment for Brent?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, I hear a lot of stuff about, like, the fans at SFU. I hear the games are really intense. I was just wondering if the fans really provide, like, an intimidating action for, for the players on the court.
Yeah, totally. I have to say that the fan support totally helps the players play harder. And
But not intimidating, though.
Oh, for sure. Especially Bala Pavanathan and Chris Taylor. Those fans are just totally intimidating.
Okay. Sometimes the gym isn't really sold out a lot up there, but some of the fans that are there could be pretty loud.
Yeah. There are some loyal guys that come out to all the games and support us, which is a great thing. And I think that if we start to get on the winning track again at these road events, then more support will come out to the game, especially against UBC, since it's a local sort of rivalry.
And Brent just let the cat out of the bag. We're going to be bringing you those games against UBC coming up. The first week in February, I believe, is when we're going to see that action. And that is just going to be outstanding basketball. So look forward to that. If you can't get up there, you can watch it on the network. We got another caller for you. And believe it or not, it's Brent. Brent, are you there? Brent? Well, I guess Brent backed off, or either that or you're calling yourself without me looking.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, we've got Connor on the line. Connor, how you doing?
I'm pretty good.
You got a question for Brent?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you find the practices from high school harder or more difficult than in university?
I have to say that the practices in university are way tougher than high school. The conditioning, especially. There's a lot more running, a lot more physical drills, like you're hitting each other in box-out drills more so than in high school.
Oh dear.
Yeah, basically, I'd say that university practices are much harder than
So
high school
if you had to give some advice to some of the young high school players out there, what would you recommend they do to get prepared for the more physicality that they'll face at the university level while they're still in high school?
They have to learn to play hard in high school and not learn to play hard in university. They have to prepare themselves for the next level by playing hard, by extending their effort on the court in practice and in games.
Okay, good, excellent. So now let's talk about the transition. The whole world changed up at SFU when they entered the CIAU. Tell us what your expectations were as a player coming in once you were drafted.
Well, really, I had no real expectations of myself coming in. I had no idea what to expect because there should have been a lot of more returning players because we were supposed to be in the NAI. But when we transferred over to the CIAU, a lot of those players became ineligible, and my role became greater, and I had to play positions that I wasn't sort of looking to play in university. But I guess I just have to adapt to that.
Brent was kind of hoping that he could play maybe a little bit of guard up there for Scott Clark. Not as much pain involved from the guard position as there is down in the paint. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but first let's go to the phone lines again. Leyland's on the line. Leyland, you got a question for Brent?
Yeah, I was wondering how he prepares for games. Like, does he look at the stats of his opponents and try to use their weaknesses against them?
That's an excellent question, Leyland.
Yeah. Well, really, there's always a scouting report given to us by our coach to prepare ourselves for the personnel that we're playing against. Really, that prepares yourself. Plus, you have to get in the mental mindset that you're going to go out there and work as hard as you possibly can. Besides that, there's not really any in particular thing that I do to prepare myself except just get ready to play.
And we talked about this as well a little bit earlier, which is along the same line as Leyland's question, which was excellent. The second game, because in the CIAU they're all back-to-back games. So talk a little bit about the second game and how you prepare for that as opposed to the first game now that you've seen a little bit.
Well, it's a lot tougher to get mentally ready for the following game. Like, especially if you win the first game, you're coming in to think that you're going to do the exact same thing the next night. You have to know that each game is separate, and you have to come out with the same amount of effort to win the second game as you did the first. Pretty much.
Excellent. Patrick is on the line now, Brent. So we'll check in with him. Patrick, are you there?
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, this Patrick?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you have a question or a comment for Brent?
For Brent, I have two questions.
Okay, fire away.
Is Coach Clark, is he good coach for you? And do you have boyfriend or girlfriend?
Oh, jeez. Obviously, somebody having a little bit of a gag there with you, but
No,
talk about Coach Clark.
Coach Clark, I enjoy his coaching. He's really toned down since last year. I didn't experience his coaching last year, but right now he gets to the point and he tells you what he wants from you. He doesn't beat around the bush like some coaches do. So I like that. And the other question, we'll keep that on.
We'll just let that one slide. Yeah, okay, good. Patrick, bad guy. Anyways, you know, I have to make a comment because I was wondering about that myself with Scott Clark. When I ran up to him yesterday up on the mountain, he was over having a joke, sharing a laugh with the coach from Manitoba there, Rich Suffield, and I have never seen Scott that relaxed before a game. So, yeah, I think there has been a slight change in his persona.
Yeah, totally. I just think I think like by watching him how he acts, he's enjoying the game more. That's what I get the feel when I see him like acting way more positively than he has in the past, and I think that's a great thing for the program. Good thing to see.
Okay, before we wrap it up, we're not going to be able to take any more calls for Brett, but just tell me what your personal, well, first of all, let's talk about the aspirations of the team, because I want to mention to everybody that these are a very committed group of young men playing up at SFU. The season not quite going the way you had anticipated, so they wanted to reaffirm their commitment to the sport and to the school and to each other. So they've gone dry. I know I showed up at the Mountain Shadow after the game last night. There was nobody in there. So talk a little bit about that, what the team hopes to aspire to.
Well, we had a team meeting and we decided that we want to turn things around. We want to stop losing games and we want to start winning. So, but to do that, we have to make commitment to each other. And one of the main commitments that we made was to stay dry after New Year's. And as well, we have to get in the gym more and weight train more if we're going to prepare ourselves to make that step to reach our goal, which would be to make the Canada West final playoff series.
And you guys have a shot at that. You guys were looking good there last night. Now, what about Brent Charlton personally? What do you hope to achieve?
I just want to achieve whatever I can to help this team. It doesn't really matter what role I play as long as we keep winning. That's what I want to do. I just want to win. That's my personal goal.
Outstanding. We want to wish you all the best of luck. You want to see Brett in action, and believe me, it is a treat. Tune in right after Insport. We've got the SFU Manitoba game coming up, and it was a great one. It will have you on the edge of your seat. We'll check in with Brett when we do the UBC SFU game coming up in February, and that'll be a good one too. Thanks for stopping by.
No problem.
We're going to take a break, and when we return, it's going to be open phones. William Davis and myself ready to take calls and talk sports. See you then.
Does this make you hungry, baby? I know it does. Makes me hungry. Come on, I know you want it. Come on, it's delicious.
If you're at all interested in being in our business, or if you're in it and you want to become better at it, this is the highest caliber of speakers that you'll see anywhere in Western Canada at any time.
Buddy! I need your help. Go back to the cabin and get Sarah. Tell her to call an ambulance. Good dog. Go to Sarah, boy.
Too bad we can't do for life what we do for television.
The Better Business Bureau has been providing reliability reports on businesses since 1939. Now, these valuable reports are conveniently available online to provide consumers with information about specific companies. The online reports indicate whether a business has resolved or unresolved complaints and government actions, if any have been taken against the company. Be an informed buyer. Take advantage of the Better Business Bureau's online reliability reports before you buy.
BC Politics, what makes it tick? Join me for interviews with the newsmakers on Voice of BC, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. live.
I know you can throw better than that. Like this. Use your head to stop the snowball. I don't know where you're aiming. It seems to me. Bullseye!
Digital picture and sound, another great feature of Shaw Digital Cable. More movies, more superstations, and more music for one low monthly price. Now purchase a Shaw Digital Cable terminal for only $199. Call today. This offer won't last.
bad we can't do for life what we do for television.
Welcome back to the show. William Davis, Kevin Cady. Let's get the phone number up right away for you. You can check us out here at Insport. Give us a call, 588-0441. I believe I'm going from memory here, and the memory is pretty good, but it's short. There it is, 588-0441. We're ready to talk sports, Canucks, Grizzlies, whatever you like, the Lions, NFL football. We were just talking before we came back onto air and said, why don't you give us a call and tell us what you think the biggest sports story was for British Columbia or maybe even Canada in the past year?
Yeah, for sure. First show of the year. This is the new year, the new season. Insport's back for an hour. It's your show. It's your call. So give us a call. Tell us what you think was the biggest story of the year. The Olympics, the Rams last January. You know what happened last year. So just give us a call and see what you think about that.
Canada's performance at the Summer Olympics might come up. Daniel Rigali from Burnaby Mountain up at
lack
SFU.
Thereof.
Winning the gold medal. We've got some great stories. Greg McCauley and Kelly Law taking the trophies, the Scott Trophy and the Brier Trophy for curling. Speaking of curling, we got that coming up over the next couple of months in our winter schedule. You'll be able to catch a couple of matches, and then hopefully we'll do the provincial championships for you like we did last season. Huge in the news is Canada's Olympic hockey team that will be competing in 2002. They've got to name 8 players by March 15th.
That's right. And who else but the province Go Big Sports who talk about this. March 15th, we've got to name 8 players. And so check it out, actually. 4 pages on that in the province. And it's a great question. And they've got some really good scenarios in here. Who could be at each position. So check it out, but give us a call and let us know who you think might be on that Olympic team next year. It's already next year.
It's got to be Jovanowski.
Hey, I hope so.
He better. They got to have Jovo on there. We'll talk a little bit about him right now. We're going to go to the phones. We're going to talk to Rick. Rick, welcome to Insport. Do you have a question or a comment for us?
I've got a comment. Actually, I just you were saying about all the good things from what's happened this year. I think the BC Lions winning the Grey Cup.
There you go.
Hey, there you go. Absolutely. That would have been my pick.
And the old man finally leaving.
Well, I don't know if that was a happy thing. And, who knows how Louis will surface again around here in the future. Maybe he'll be involved with the Lions in some other way. But, an outstanding choice. Grey Cup champions once again. I don't know if you had a chance to see our year in review show that aired on New Year's Eve, but we had the Grey Cup with us down at Champ Sports Pub when we did the live show.
We had it actually at our rink just before Christmas. They brought it down. We got a chance to see it.
How'd the Eagles do today?
We won. We finally ended the long losing streak.
Yeah, well, that's quite an accomplishment. You guys got slapped around pretty bad there on Saturday, I guess, eh? 8-1?
Yeah, you can't win them all. But, hey, we're getting going.
Okay, thanks a lot for your call. We got lots of BC hockey coming up over the next couple of months on the network.
Happy New Year, guys.
Hey, same to you.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey, that's a good call. BC Lions winning the Grey Cup. Unfortunately, they didn't have a great year leading up to it, but they won. They won the Grey Cup. That's for sure a great story.
You could almost sense it when they did that final game with Louis' big farewell. He scored the touchdown. You just had a feeling that this team could string 4 victories together and go all the way. We actually talked to Adam Rita at a high school football game and did an interview with him. We talked just about that, and Adam in his role with the team, of course, is always going to be positive, but he thought they were ready and that they could string those victories together.
It was perfect. The underdog team, the dissension in the clubhouse. Off goes their head coach. Here's Louis' last year, 25 years, one of the most celebrated careers in CFL history, and boom! They don't call it Hollywood North for nothing, right? We've
got another caller.
That's right.
So we're going to check in with Doug. Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, thanks. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. How's it going there, Will?
Pretty good, Doug. How are you?
Right. Yeah, just wondering what you guys thought about the Canucks goaltenders there. I don't know if we have a number 1 goaltender, but seems like our number 1 isn't playing as well as our number 2, so I was just wondering what you guys thought about that.
Goaltending has been a big point here in Vancouver. Everybody pretty happy with the play of the team. outside of the crease, but in the crease, a little bit of concern. Asenza has played great, but Potvin has been shaky at times. Now, I'll let you talk about it because I know you like Felix.
I do. Felix is a good old boy from back in Quebec, eh? So he is a #1 goalie. He went to the conference finals. Remember those two? I was happy because the Leafs weren't winning the cup, right? But they went to the wire with Gilmore as a forward and Potvin back in nets, and he was a #1 goalie. There was no question about it then. Went through that horrible period and that exile. It's like going to prison there on Long Island. He had to play in Long Island, where it's just a brutal situation. I don't know what Mike Milbury's doing there, but he had to go through that whole ringer and everything, and he's come back. And Brian Burke, again in the province today, has said he is a fan of Felix Potvin. He's going to stand behind that goalie. And Asenza, great backup, who also looked like a #1 goalie when he was in Winnipeg. But he's a great #2. And Potvin, I think he's doing the job. We're on track for 100 points this season. The Canucks are so, and they're in 5th place in the conference. I don't think there's much to worry about.
I can remember just even last year they said you need about 84, 85 points to make the playoffs. In the Western Conference this year, I don't know. You might have to get 100 to get in. There is some level of competition there. I have said this in the past, and I will stick with it. Felix Potvin is a goalie that will steal some games for you. You can count on it. The Cat will win some games with spectacular play. I'm not even talking about the playoffs. Once the playoffs roll around, the guy is amazing. But just in the regular season, and we haven't seen that yet, so we've only got another 41 games to go. And I'm telling you, count on 5 of them to be victories thanks to Felix Potvin. And I'm going to stick with this. I think one of the things we should do, thanks to Doug's question, is maybe go down there and talk to Felix and Bob and see what they have to say about the season, what they think about it.
We'll tell him that Doug, that troublemaker Doug guy, he wants to know what's up with the goaltending situation. But good question, Doug. Thanks for giving us a call. And we've got Pedro on the line now. Pedro, you're in Sport.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Pedro. How's it going?
I have a comment on one of the. What do you think about that Friday paper said we're dumbest basketball fans?
Okay, you got a question about basketball?
Yeah, they on the paper. What do you think about that? They said on the province we are the dumbest basketball fans in North America.
Oh, that Vancouver people were the dumbest basketball fans in North America.
And one more comment is one of the best story last year is Whitecaps coming back.
The Whitecaps are back, my man. That is a done deal.
Okay, thank
you.
So
you can write that on your calendar come April. The Whitecaps will be playing out of Swangard Stadium, and there will be much rejoicing in the soccer world around British Columbia. But yeah, the dumbest basketball fans in the league, maybe?
I don't buy that. It's a new sport for Vancouverites, but I don't know for the dumbest ones. I didn't read that article, but certainly it's a fickle group here in Vancouver when it comes to basketball. It's surprised that I was always surprised that they got a team, considering Seattle's right down the street. They've got their team, and they've got a pretty strong following from this part of the country. But I think that fans here are backing, true fans are backing the team. Problem might be the corporate side of things, I think, and the whole issue of whether the team's going to stay in town or not. But are we good fans? Yeah, I think we're good fans. I know that there's fans when we go out to these high school basketball games, AAA basketball championships, and up at SFU, there's knowledgeable and interested fans throughout the Lower Mainland. So, I don't buy into that stuff at all. However,
and I don't think anybody in the basketball world would ever say that. This is just a sensationalized story. It's right up there with David Wells saying that Toronto fans suck, for baseball. He's saying they suck because there's only 14,000 of them coming out to a game. And, David wants to play in front of 60, 70, 80,000. So to him, that's what he's referring to, that we don't go out to the games enough. Maybe this is a similar thing, saying, if you don't go to the basketball games and fill the stadium every night, you're dumb because it's the greatest game on the planet. So, I don't put any kind of credence into those types of comments. The people at GM Place that go are treated to some good entertainment by the corporation. The product on the floor has, it's been coming along not as quickly as, I would have liked personally, and a lot of people would have liked, but it is an entertaining evening, and you can see some good basketball. We're going to take another call, and then we'll get back to that topic, because I know you want to talk more basketball. Katrina, welcome to Insport.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question about the BC Lions.
Okay.
Okay, now, I thought that was the best story throughout the year of them going and winning the Grey Cup. But what I want to know is that, I mean, like, I've always been a fan of Damon Allen's, and from the time he went to that game and actually, you know, broke Ron Lancaster's passing record, and I think that's when it really started for the Lions. They went on this, you know, on this 5-game winning streak. And I just want to know that why do people in Vancouver look down on Damon Allen, and why has he never got the credit that you know he should and he deserves?
Well, you know, Katrina, first of all, obviously you know your football pretty good. You got all the stats.
Football fan.
You got all the stats right on Damon Allen, and this guy, arguably by the numbers, is the best quarterback to ever play in the CFL. He's got the most yards passing. He's got the most completions. He's got Grey Cup rings now. I think that it wasn't people looking down on Damon Allen as much as, don't forget when he came in was shortly after Danny Mack and the miracle Grey Cup victory in '95, I think it was. The years start to blend together. You know, the big snowball there with, you know, McManus throwing it to Flutie and pulling it off and stuff like that. And then came in Damon Allen, and the team struggled a bit. And I think that maybe fans were just kind of, sometimes it's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it is. But you know what else was going on with the Lions? This has been it's a great league for the product, of course, the big field, the action. It's wonderful. But also what goes on is you've got a team like BC who 2 years ago was out of like 0-5 to start the year. They change coaches. Mons comes in, savior. They go all the way to the conference final, and they lose to Calgary, right?
Right.
And then, you know, it's such a crazy soap opera, such a crazy ride. The next year, things level off. Mons doesn't seem to be doing the same work he was able to accomplish with the team. And Damon Allen wasn't given the football the way Damon Allen can move the football. Right. So that didn't help his cause. Ever since he broke that record, he's been calling the shots on the field. That made the difference for Damon Allen at the end of the season, and inevitably made the difference for the team to go on and win the Grey Cup. But another thing about Damon Allen, a final thing about Damon Allen, I think, is that he's one of those players like Mario Lemieux who isn't, or Pete Sampras, another perfect example, who isn't a flamboyant kind of guy who you can't hang your corporate kind of commercials on like Flutie Flakes or something like that. He's a guy who does the job, who makes it look so easy, you know, with his running and his passing and reading the defense, that you just don't recognize the fact that this guy can play the game.
He's got the recognition now. I think you'd agree, Katrina, wouldn't you? Oh, Katrina's gone. I think Damon's got the recognition now, and next year with this program to sell the 20,000 seats for $20, the place will be jam-packed, the atmosphere will draw more people in, and Damon Allen will actually get to play in an environment where a guy of his caliber should be played. Yeah. Screaming fans, holding up signs, go Damon go, calling his own shots. And I think that if we talk to Damon next year once the season starts going on, we'll probably find out that he's pretty darn happy to be in BC.
Yeah, I think he is, and he should be. It's going to be an exciting year again with the Lions. So I think we've got Tyler on the line. Tyler, you're in sport, buddy.
Yeah. So when are the Canucks going to fall apart? The big question.
The Canucks aren't going to fall apart, Tyler.
Sure.
You got to have some faith, and the main reason I think they're not going to fall apart is they're young. They're young and they're fit, and they can take the punishment, and they don't have players out there that have had 4, 5, 6, 7 surgeries already. This is a young, keen group of players. Look at Ed Jovanovski, and you know, we want to send our condolences out to Ed and his wife and his family because of what had happened recently, the loss of one of her twins. She's pregnant with twins, and one of them unfortunately passed away in a miscarriage. He misses a couple of games. He comes right back, scores a goal. He was like the main motivating force in that game the other night.
Yeah, these guys are definitely a young, quality team. Again in the province, we see Vancouver Grizzlies leading in rumors in the league. That's not happening anymore with the Canucks. Bert came in and said, that's enough of that. He takes the brunt of anything, and you know, if you go down there and try to interview this guy, and if you start goosing around with him, he will not let you know. It'll take seconds before he lets you know, hey, I'm not putting up with this crap. This is what's going on the ice, is what's going on with this team. Forget about all this other, soap opera crap that's going on. We're playing hockey here, and I'm going to support the coach, I'm going to support the goalie, and I'm going to support the players. And this is a young, exciting team. I don't know if they're going to fall apart. Don't expect a Stanley Cup, but I don't think they're going to fall apart.
I think they're going to be even better in a 7-game series. That's my personal belief. We'll go on record right now. I say the Canucks are in the playoffs for sure. Who knows? They might even get home ice advantage. So I'm talking possibly 4th place finish here for the Young Guns down at GM Place. We got 1 minute, so quickly. Pat, if you're there, you want to make a quick comment? Pat? Pat's gone. We don't have a lot of time for Pat anyways. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up right after Insport. You're going to see an excellent men's basketball game, CIAU action at its finest. Simon Fraser University taking on the Manitoba Bisons, and that's a great game. Stay tuned for that. Next week on the show, we're not going to make any promises because this guy has been known to weasel his way out at times, but Steve Ewan is going to come on from the province, and we're going to talk high school sports with you, primarily basketball, so that will always be a treat. Steve, if you're watching, I've already pulled the plug on it, okay? Everybody's expecting you next Sunday.
He's got one of the best articles in town. I hope he shows up because he covers the amateur sports and the high school sports that is so essential, I think, to be covered. It's just great, and it must be a joy for these kids to get out there and be covered like that. My final bit on this Insport show is the story of 2000. Richard won Survivor.
Oh, jeez, I'll tell you. On that note, we're going to go right now, and I'll sort this guy out for next week. He'll be shaved and looking a lot better, okay? Thanks for watching. Enjoy the basketball game, and we'll see you next Sunday, 7 p.m.